Good evening. This is the February 12th, 2014 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. I'd like to call it to order. First item on the agenda is a continuation from prior hearings, notice of intent, which was continued from January 22nd, 2014, Woodward and Curran, concerning DEP file number 2060722. Project location is 1002 to 1194 Pawtucket Boulevard. It's repaving of the existing parking lot at the same location along the Merrimack River. If you could identify yourself for the record. Yeah.
Requested that we add some additional spot grades to our plan because you guys were concerned with potential filling of flood storage area. So we did that. Unfortunately, the original plan that we had presented to the commission did not have spot grades. It was not survey accurate. We did have a survey in our archives for this project site, so we went with those contours and added the spot grades as requested.
Do you feel confident that the historical information that you had is reflective of what exists on the site now?
Yes, I did a site visit after preparing this plan just to verify the attributes, and I do feel comfortable.
All right. Okay. I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Barnum? Commissioner Lovely? Commissioner Beardron? So, before I close it, is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? Either for or against, hearing none. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second it.
By Commissioner Beardron, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right, hold on. Not quite done yet.
Oh.
This is here for a notice of intent. It's simple regrade. We've asked the proponent to provide us with spot elevations on the site just to make sure that they match pre and post. So when we get an as-built back, we can,
Okay.
we can make determinations based on the as-built that they're at the same elevation.
Okay.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Do I have a motion to, it seems to me that we could issue a standard Lowell order.
Do we want to pick a certain elevation to skip it? Because there are differences. Do you guys want to do that?
What do you mean?
All your spot shots are just a little different throughout.
There's some variability. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the reason why we're repaving, because the pavement has deteriorated in some
Okay.
sections. So what we did to try and address that is we added a note to the plan that the contractor is not to exceed the spot grids. So there may be some variability where they'll smooth it out, so it might be below those elevations slightly in order
Okay.
to maintain the pitch of the pavement.
Yeah.
But they won't fill above that because we don't want to take any storage.
Okay.
So the spot grades might not match exactly, but they won't be above what's presented on that plan.
Okay, perfect. I'll make a motion to issue a standard of Lowell order of conditions.
Motion by Commissioner Beardron, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, now you're done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I need to sign in on this form?
No. Just be in touch with Swati, and she'll make sure that the order gets to you. Second item on the agenda this evening is a notice of intent, public hearing, Rimmer Environmental Consulting LLC, concerning DEP file number 2060723. The project location is the Lawrence Street Bridge over the Concord River, and it's the repair of the Lawrence Street Bridge across the Concord River, including deck replacement and scour protection. Yes, if you could identify yourself for the record.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Jody Trumfio. I'm a principal and a project manager for TEC. We're here representing the city of Lowell on this bridge rehabilitation project. I'm accompanied this evening with Mary Rimmer from Rimmer Environmental Consultants, who was a wetlands scientist serving the design team, and also so delineated the wetland and was also the responsible party for preparing the application, the NOI application. And also this evening is here in attendance is Ryan Dyer from our office, a project engineer, and Lisa DeMeo, city engineer, City of Lowell. This presentation, the outline here, going to review existing conditions first at the bridge, discuss what the proposed work is going to be, identify some of those resource area impacts that is going to be a result of the proposed work, and then highlight or identify some of the methods that we can protect the resource area during construction. So first and foremost, existing conditions. This photo represents the existing conditions at the bridge. Currently, there's the southerly section, about 13 feet of the existing bridge is closed off to traffic due to poor condition of the existing roadway deck. There's some steel plates that have been installed, as well as some deficient bridge rail that's out there on site. The MassDOT has inspected this bridge on a routine basis and has identified several deficiencies that are requiring need of repair and or replacement. This photo is taken from the underside of that bridge deck in the same vicinity as that steel road plate. You can see the underside of the deck has some large concrete spalls, and that is pointing to some of the exposed rebar within the deck due to the corrosion process. Another thing to note, despite the poor condition of the deck, the existing concrete beams at this location, at this bridge, are in good condition. You may remember we were here before you back in November to request to do some material testing and to see if we can, in fact, reuse those beams. We went through that. And the results exceeded our expectations when we are going to be able to reuse those beams. Other areas of that need attention and repair include some localized substructure repair, concrete spalling at the abutments, at the east abutment and the fifth pier, so the easternmost pier along the river there is some localized undermining and some scour that we will also look to address. We had another subconsultant, Novus Engineering, perform a hydraulic study to determine and also evaluate the existing conditions to determine the appropriate remediation techniques to address the undermining at the east abutment and pier number 5. So the proposed work, what we plan to do at this bridge, as I mentioned, we do plan to keep the existing beam, so we're going to do a complete deck, sidewalk, and railing replacement. And we are going to be replacing that in kind with a high-performance concrete deck. We are going to replace the railings in kind. This is adjacent to Lowell Cemetery and the Concord River Greenway, so we've been working with the historic board as well to kind of get their buy-in and their input in terms of how they want to preserve the aesthetic of the Lucy Larcombe ornamental rail on the outside. We're going to propose to maintain that look and provide additional vehicular protection by installing a interior vehicular barrier at the face of curb. And as I mentioned before, we would plan to reuse the existing concrete beams. So this is a photo that just to kind of identify how this would take place at the bridge. This is a partial or a stage construction of a deck replacement. This is actually in Middleton, Mass, where you can see that the crew would be working on one side of the bridge, while in the far left of that photo you can see that traffic is maintained. So the same type of philosophy is going to occur at this bridge, where we're going to maintain traffic in both directions through a single lane that would be controlled by a temporary traffic signal. And that was one of the wishes of the city, to make sure that we couldn't, because of the location of the bridge and the traffic demand, to shut the bridge down and rebuild it all at once. We wanted to keep traffic going, so that's why it's being built in phases. This is a sample of a bridge that we did in Lowell as well, to give you an appreciation of what we're talking about in terms of the construction of an interior vehicular barrier, along with being able to maintain the ornamental rail at the exterior. This is Pawtucket Street over the Pawtucket Canal.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? Can you go back a frame, please?
If I know how. I can't, my eyes are bad. Does that say previous? There, thanks.
Where the arrow points to in the vehicle barrier,
Yes,
this is not an issue for the Conservation Commission, but it's a design issue.
yes.
These are being installed in various bridges throughout the city, and without fail, the plate at the ends where it bends down at the elbow extends out into the roadway surface, where they drill it into the barrier itself. There's like a bevel on the concrete side, but the plate extends over the bevel. And it's a potential liability issue, because someone could walk by that and nick their leg or something like that, because it's a sharp piece of metal. I mean, if you can pass that along to whomever.
Sure.
Because the Central Street Bridge that they just did has, on
Similar
both
detail,
sides, all
yeah.
4 of them are like that. I'm trying to, and matter of fact, I think this bridge does too. This is the one out on,
Pawtucket
just by,
Street.
near School Street, so yeah.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. You can't really see it, but it's something to be aware of.
Sure, sure. This is a typical photo of what's being proposed to address the undermining at the east abutment and at Pier 5. This is a technique that Federal Highway uses or promotes for all DOTs to implement in terms of reestablishing the substructure integrity. What you see here are grout bags. These are fabric bags that are filled with cementitious material, hardened up, and serve as a stay-in-place form. And then there are PVC pipes that are inserted through those bags, and you can pump grout in those confined spaces to the left, and that fills in those voids that's of the undermined area. So this is what we're proposing to do, both at the east abutment and at Pier 5, and that's the extent of the underwater work that's going to be happening at the bridge. And then above, all the other substructure work is going to have, this is, again, another typical Mass DOT detail of how you would ordinarily address any of the shallow depth concrete spalls or masonry spalls that are seen at the bridge substructure.
I have a question. In order to get those bags in there, are you going to have to do some sort of cofferdam or?
Those are actually installed in the wet, and they're usually installed with divers.
Really?
To make sure that they're properly installed underwater. It's all underwater work and constructed in the wet. So we're not proposing to do any cofferdam to construct in the dry in those
Okay.
instances.
Is there a certain amount of time that those bags need to be in place before you can pour the concrete into those?
Yeah, you have to allow the grout in the grout bag to set up properly, and then you can actually form them to the contouring of the substrate and whatnot, so that you get a good seal, so that when you pump the trimming concrete into the voids behind it
Yeah.
and underneath the abutment, you have a good solid retrofit.
Okay.
So now to identify some of those resource area impacts as a result of the proposed work, we do have bank on the northeast quadrant of the bridge that we have to temporarily impact. Land underwater, as I mentioned, for all that substructure work at the east abutment and pier number 5. This is bordering land subject to flooding. The bank that you'll see at the northeast quadrant that we will also use as temporary access to do all this substructure work. And obviously, riverfront area within the 25-foot area to do temporary access again for construction access to get to the river to do the work beneath the bridge deck. So here's a key plan, a colored up key plan that shows those areas. Lawrence Street running right to left, or I'll refer to it as east to west. East abutment is on the right side of the page. You can see that the localized, you can see the gray shaded areas are the retrofit areas for where we would do that trimming concrete and scour countermeasure to reestablish the existing fill that was there, both at the east abutment and Pier 5. The brown shaded area signifies the temporary access that the workers will need to use to access the river to be able to perform the work beneath the bridge. And so that's about a 20-foot area of bank along the river there that they would need to temporarily impact. And you can see the square footages, the calculated square footages, about 500 square feet of the BLSF and the riverfront area for that temporary access way. And then the land underwater impact, the rehab work that needs to be done at the piers. There's about 900 square feet at the pier, and the balance of that, the 500 square feet, would occur at the east abutment. So to go over a couple of common methods of protecting the resource area during construction that we would certainly propose to do for this project. This is a photo that represents that temporary access area on the northeast side of the bridge. We would stabilize that access, that sloped area, with an erosion control mat, a straw material of some sort to help stabilize that, so that there's no sediment or with all the foot traffic that's going to be using that area to help stabilize that. And we would install compost filter tubing along the bank to protect the river from any sediment from entering the river as well. And then as part of the restoration plan, we would put a Mass DOT restoration seed mix, something to reestablish the vegetation and the slope at the completion of construction. This is actually at the Central Street Bridge. This photo is a method of shielding to do the deck demolition. You see the timber shielding between the adjacent beams, so that you're allowed to demolish the concrete deck, excavate it locally, and dispose of it without it entering the resource area. So this is something we would strongly recommend as part of the process for doing the deck demolition in this project. Here's some means and methods for getting under the bridge and working under the bridge in the river with some work floats. You see the contractor has small 8x10 or 8x12 work floats that they can work from, and that can also serve as a protective barrier from any concrete or any restoration work that's happening from dropping directly into the river. A sample of a compost filter tube, which would serve as the erosion controls along the outskirts of the project to protect any sediment from the resource area. Here's a sample of floating silt fence that would be downstream of the river for once we start doing any of that trimming concrete work, that it takes any of the floatables and contains that from going downstream. And lastly, a typical photo of a silt sack. So there are a few catch basins down gradient from the project at the intersection of Moore Street. So we would look to install silt sacks in those two locations. So in addition to this presentation, just wanted to highlight it is a limited project, is a bridge rehab per Wetlands Protection Act and the local ordinance. We did do a stormwater management report to demonstrate that the existing impervious area is remaining unchanged. So, and because of the limited project use, that there isn't really an opportunity to do any additional BMPs for the project because we are, local to the footprint of the bridge for the proposed work. But we did prepare a report per the Wetlands Protection Act and the standards, and it's included with this filing. So with that, if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer, or anyone else from the design team.
Yes, the grout bags,
Yes.
do those remain after?
Yes.
After the grout has been pumped in, or the cement, or whatever it is that you do? They do?
Yes, and if I didn't mention it, we are the actual stream bed elevation, we are reestablishing. So there's been some loss of stream bed material. So those grout bags are there to serve as a permanent form for what we're correcting underneath the abutments, but it's not excessive fill within the.
All right. Well, I guess my question more is geared towards, I mean, do they degrade? Do they solidify? Does anything leak out of them? What's,
No, my understanding of the product is once it solidifies and it serves as another form of revetment or riprap. It's there to protect the toe of the abutment and prevent any future washout or future undermining.
all right. Now my other two questions are more related to the resource area, your access area, and on the other side, both on the South Lowell side of the bridge.
Okay.
For the most part, have two large caliper trees.
Yes. Yes. Let me go back to that photo. Not that. That's a different spot. There.
Yeah.
So this tree right here is one that we don't believe is going to be impacted by the work. The majority of the work is similar to when the contractors did the material sampling at the bridge. It's foot traffic, it's hand tools, it's deposit. The only thing that, if we were going to deploy the workflow, it could be deployed from the road itself. Once we take the lane, we could drop the workflow into the resource area. We don't envision large equipment, mechanical, heavy equipment going up and down that slope. For that reason, I think that tree can be maintained and
All right.
preserved.
That was my question.
Yeah.
So you're not anticipating any heavy vehicle traffic that would damage root systems, and because that thing's stabilizing that bank, and
Oh,
it's probably
absolutely.
protecting the abutments of the bridge too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
And now on the other side, where the abutments were sort of degraded.
Oh, let me, that side really isn't accessible. There's the vertical stone
But
wall.
you're not planning on impact. It would be on the
The lower right
yeah,
side?
where it says handmade of human good, the little seal
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that green area there. There's another very large caliper. I think it's a red maple, but
Yeah, the only access area to get to the river is what's being shown.
okay. So
Yeah.
that wouldn't be impacted either.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right. What are the plans after that access area, once you're done, to restabilize that bank?
We would plan to use a restoration seed mix that MassDOT would ordinarily spec out for their state projects. This has to go through a Mass DOT Chapter 85 review as part of this, so we tend to want to implement as much of the standard details and standard specifications and any offerings that the commission would also have as far as what that restoration mix would comprise of. We'd be very interested in doing that, so.
All right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, Mary's reminding me that, to protect that during construction, there would be a straw mat, that would, to help protect that from any large erosion or washout or what have you.
all right. I have no further questions. Commissioner Varnum?
No, I have no questions.
Commissioner Lovely?
Just a quick one. How long do you expect it to take before those bags cure, and you're pretty confident that the scouring that's occurred in the past has been addressed and it won't happen again?
Yes, when we had our subconsultant do the hydraulic study, they gave us several alternatives, and all of which would work.
Yep.
And this one is a proven practice for, as long as it's properly installed and it's towed in, it prevents any future undermining from occurring.
Yeah, I'm not worried about, I mean, I'm convinced of that. I was more curious about kind of just following installation, kind of monitoring it to make sure it's the grout bags have cured
Oh,
and.
during construction?
And during construction. So in other words, I assume with a year-long duration, it seems like at some point you want to be confident that the scouring has been addressed through this
Oh,
technique.
yeah,
And so I was just
certainly.
curious as to how you're going to verify that down the road.
Well, Mass DOT conducts dive reports periodically as well. So that would be, one of the things that they identify is channel condition, scouring, any of that. So that is, there's a post-construction inspection that's performed,
All right, that's where I was going with this.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that'll be done. Okay,
certainly.
thanks. No further questions.
Commissioner Beardron?
How do you stabilize the work float?
That can be tied off of you could anchor it to the concrete pier wall with an eye bolt of some sort and with rope and
All right,
tie
so you're
those.
latching it on above, not going down.
Oh, correct, yeah, we're not anchoring, and typically you're not dropping anchor or doing anything like that. They typically want to tie off of the bridge that they're
Alright.
working on and whatnot, so.
And is that something that gets removed like nightly, or does it stay there for as long as you've done the work, or?
I think to speed up construction, if it can be left in place for, as needed to complete the work underneath, just say it's that much more time savings from a day-to-day basis for contractors that don't have to deploy the barge every
Gotcha.
day, so.
Because is it a barge?
Well, I'll call it a workflow. It's
Like, can people pick it up?
yeah.
Yeah,
You
okay.
ordinarily, you're probably gonna set it with a piece of equipment from the road, drop it into the river and tie it off.
Yeah. Okay. It's my first work float, so I was
Yeah.
just curious. Okay.
What is your, I know that, is this a DOT project?
It's a city project.
City project?
yes.
What's the time frame for starting work, completing work?
Yeah, well, we're also, as part of this project, we're also filing with the Army Corps, the Category 1 notification form. There may be a time of year restriction for the in-stream work. So it's the city's goal to advertise this project for construction this year. And depending on what we hear back from the Army Corps in terms of time of year restrictions, one of the first things that they can do is get in the stream. But depending on when the project is approved by MassDOT, gets advertised, contract award, where is that in the calendar year in reference to the time of year restriction that might be imposed? We're thinking it's a one-year project to do the 2 stages of the construction and all the underwater work. But again, it might not make sense to lose a lane and have an alternating one-way traffic through the winter if that's where if that's what the next step in the project is. If it makes more sense to wait until the next spring, we have to see where what we're dealing with in terms of timing
All right,
restrictions and
Yeah,
approvals.
my question, I guess I should have asked it directly, was geared exactly towards what the Army Corps is looking at its time of the year. I'm sure you're very well aware that that's an incredibly rapidly moving river
Yeah,
in
oh,
the
yeah.
springtime.
Yes.
That's a very high-velocity area. So even though that's relatively wide at that section, that's, you know they do whitewater rafting about 200 yards down from there, so.
Yeah, yeah.
And they set in just about at that area, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay. All right, is there any further questions from the commission? Swati, do you have anything to add? Okay. I'm going to open this up to the public. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? Again, is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? Lastly, anyone who would like to offer their comments or concerns, either for or against this project? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
By Commissioner Beardron, seconded by Commissioner Varnum. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to issue a stated Lowell order of conditions for this project.
Can I just add a few things? That we minimize the disturbance of the bank, like you said. Keep that tree and if you can't, just notify us.
Okay.
And then also, I guess, a preference of working during low flow under the bridge if you can.
Yeah, I think the time of year restriction may be a two-month? Yeah, July and August, possibly, for
the
when we
Army
would be
Corps?
doing that. So again, if that's enforced by the Army Corps, then depending on when the contract is awarded, all the other topside work could occur, including the above-water repairs to the piers, but certainly,
Yeah.
All right, do you want to adopt that as part of your motion, Commissioner Lovell?
Sure, why
All
not?
right, do I have a second on the motion?
Second?
By Commissioner Beardron. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
thank you.
Moving on to the third item on the agenda is a notice of intent, the BSC Group Incorporated, concerning DEP file number 2060724. Project location is 105 Industrial Ave, and it's the installation of new poles and underground conduit to improve the conduct system of the existing Meadowbrook substation. If you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Matthew Waldrop. I'm a wetland scientist with BSC Group. With me tonight is Melissa Green. She's a scientist as well with BSC Group. We're representing National Grid. I'm New England Power Company doing business as National Grid. And the project we bring before you tonight is, as you mentioned, the installation of 13 utility poles and 4 conduits to upgrade and improve the existing L2, L5, and then the proposed L6 and 2381 lines. This is actually part of a larger project associated with the Meadowbrook substation in Chelmsford. The project will provide load relief to existing equipment within the Meadowbrook substation, in turn to prevent power outages and equipment failures, and help NEP provide safer delivery of reliable energy to the public. There are 2 specific items that qualify as exempt maintenance under the Wetlands Protection Act. Specifically, these items are the connection overhead wire for the L2 and L6 riser poles, which are right here, overhead wire connecting into the existing line. And on the last figure down here, removal of an overhead wire, which is up to 78 and 78-1. No impact is expected, it's just overhead work, hence the exempt maintenance. There is, however, some impact to wetland resource areas, hence the filing of a notice of intent. Specifically, the impacts are going to be the installation of 2 poles in BVW and 2 underground conduits. There are 6 poles in BLSF and 3 underground conduits, 4 poles in riverfront area, and 1 underground conduit. I'd like to direct the Commission's attention to pages 2 and 3 of the WPA form, the impact calcs. As you see, most of the impacts we have are temporary in nature. All of the underground work will be temporary. The underground conduits will be backfilled, seeded, and graded to pre-construction grades. So those impacts are just expected to be temporary. The permanent impacts are fairly minor. As you see, 6 square feet of BVW, 19 square feet of BLSF, and 12 square feet of riverfront area. Those could be considered de minimis, as we believe it won't really negatively impact the interests outlined in the Wetlands Protection Act. Despite that, we still are offering some compensatory flood storage, and that will be done in the form equal to the size and volume loss of the installation of the pole, and that will be occurring in a location immediately adjacent to the pole in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act. This is considered a limited project under the Act, but we will still be employing appropriate construction BMPs to minimize impacts to adjacent wetland resource areas. The work is scheduled to commence in the spring of 2014, and we expect it will take about 18 months to complete with the Commission's permission. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have at this time.
How large is the conduit that you're running?
As far as a depth, or?
Well, yeah, depth and width.
Yes, sir. The trench will be approximately 3 to 6 feet deep, and the width will be about 4 feet wide.
And are you trenching and replacing in place, or is that going to be an open trench for some time? Or
It will at the end of each workday, the trenches are typically covered. They will be backfilled upon completion. I can't speak to the fact of it being left over. It will be open during the day when they're working on it, but typically at night, just for safety purposes, it is covered with some type of structure, a plate or sort.
now, how many lineal feet at a time do you do, or?
That usually depends on the conditions, what the crews think they can complete in one day. There really isn't a typical figure or number for that.
All right, so there's no, what I guess what I'm getting at is there's no wholesale stockpiling of material that's been removed from the trenches?
No, sir. It'll probably be fairly minimal. There will be some stockpiling immediately adjacent to the trench, but it won't be substantial.
While they're working
sir.
there, yeah, okay.
Just to clarify.
Yes.
If you could come up.
Just to
And just identify
I'm
yourself.
Melissa
for the
Green
record.
with the BSC Group. Just to clarify, the underground conduit will be placed 3 to 6 feet under the ground in a concrete encased conduit that's about 18 inches wide. It's not very large. And as Matt said, it'll be restored upon, so it's just temporary impact.
Now, the riser poles that you're putting in, are those the big double ones, or?
I believe they're just, are they, excuse me, do you know if the riser poles are? I'm
They're
not
just
sure.
the typical brown distribution poles that you see on the side of the road, just one
Right.
single pole.
Okay, are they just, I mean, typically, my, layman's terms for a utility pole like that is they just bore a hole and stick it in the hole. Is there some sort of footing that this is placed on, or?
Nope, it's direct in bed.
Okay, so this isn't some larger structure that's,
No, sir.
okay, all right.
I just had a follow-up question on
Yes,
the
sir.
trenching for the conduit. Given a depth of 3 to 6 feet, I mean, were you planning to slope or trench box as you move to do the work?
It'd probably be
Yes.
4-foot wide trench box.
Yes,
So it truly is kind of just staying within that smaller footprint.
yes, sir.
Okay,
For safety purposes as well, to ensure the trench wouldn't collapse.
right, all right, thank you.
All right, I have no further questions. Commissioner Barnum? I actually do have one follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
This is a largely inaccessible area. What sort of mature trees are we looking at out there?
Based on the site visits we've done, there are some mature red oak trees, but they're further down the bank in some of the wetlands, specifically wetlands 1 and 2. But as far as tree clearing, no major tree clearing is proposed. There may be some minor trimming of branches if they're necessary. In summary, most of the veg out there tends to be mostly herbaceous or shrub vegetation, saplings. There are not many mature trees.
All right,
I'd say most of the trees are still growing.
okay. Commissioner Badrin?
Hi, Matt.
Hey.
So I don't know if I missed this. So the red line's the existing,
Yes.
and the green is the new? That's the
you-
new stuff you're putting in? Or the yellow?
The purple line you're looking at?
This one's
is-
existing.
Yes, and the
Okay,
yellow
okay.
is the proposed.
This is the new one that's,
And are they both gonna stay in existence, or,
Yes.
so you're just gonna double it up?
yes, the issue is the load is, there's not enough load, there's not enough supply being provided, so they need the extra line to provide to Lowell
Yes.
and the region.
Okay. And then do you guys have a easement already for this? Okay.
Yes.
And then what about where these green dots are? It says a proposed L5 structure. Is that a pole too? Like where the green circles are?
Right here,
Yeah,
these are the,
Yes, those are the riser structures.
those are the riser structures?
Yep, and they call them riser because they're typically a little taller to span the width of the river going across.
Okay,
And
but like
those-
where every node is, like you have like 4, 5, 6, are those also riser poles too? I'm sorry, like I'm looking on sheet 2.
Yep. Those are just typical distribution poles, probably something similar to what you'd see on Industrial Ave. Overhead poles,
one.
yep.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And those are all new?
Yes, the yellow line is proposed, and the yellow structures are proposed. All the purple is existing.
Okay. So you're gonna have overhead and underground?
Yes, the orange line you're seeing here is the underground work coming
Oh,
from the
okay.
substation. And just all the way at the terminal end of the project, you have 2 underground wires going onto the shoulder of Industrial Ave, and that eventually continues until it leaves jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act.
Gotcha. So the conduit's only that small, most of this is all overhead?
Yes,
Okay,
most of it's
gotcha.
overhead.
I thought it was mostly conduit, that's what I was, gotcha.
Yep.
All right, I have no further questions.
Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns either for or against this project? Either for or against? Is there anyone here who'd like to offer their comments or concerns either for or against? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll offer a motion to close the public hearing.
By Commissioner Lovely, seconded by
Second?
Commissioner Varnum. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I mean, there's some new work here, but this is easily permitted with a standard Lowell order. It's their notice of intent covered all their siltation and straw wattle barriers, and the only thing I would like to see is if in the event that you're out there working during the trenching on a rainy day, or anticipate, leaving a couple of piles overnight, that they be tarped.
Okay.
Okay, just to prevent runoff.
Yes, sir.
Okay, into the River Meadowbrook. All right.
I'll make a motion to issue a standard City of Lowell order conditions with the chairman's suggestion.
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Lovely, motion by Commissioner Beardron. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I think they're the same. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance, City of Lowell, concerning DEP file number 2060712. Project location is Wynwood Road and Woodvale Lane.
Good evening, I'm Lisa DeMayo, the city engineer. The next few items are all mine for the same thing. I don't know if you have a mechanism to vote on multiple items at once, or if you want to take them separately. They're
Well,
all the same type of thing. We did some paving last year.
Well,
on the
Commissioner Lovely just had asked me that, but there's 4 separate filings. Although we did take these, we took them all under one, I think we heard them all at the same time, so.
The answers are the same for each one, so it's up to you how you want to handle
Right,
it. I just thought it might be quicker, so.
Yeah, I mean, if
Yes,
there's no
yes,
objection, then.
yes, and yes.
If there's no objection, then from the commission, then we'll hear them all together. Obviously, we'll vote on them one at a time, assuming that we're satisfied, but, okay. All right.
Last year, the city, through their Chapter 90 and capital paving, did some projects that were within the floodplain. We came before you, got an order of conditions. The work has now been completed. All of the items in the order of conditions have been complied with. We've provided a letter documenting that to Swathi, I believe, to give you in your packets. And we are now here requesting to be relieved from the order of conditions.
There's no pictures?
Pictures? No.
I'm just kidding.
I can get some, but I don't have them tonight, but I can get you some.
I'm just kidding. All right. Yep. Swathi says it's good.
All right, are there any questions from the commission for the engineer? Okay. Can I have we'll do them one at a time. Do I have a motion concerning DEP file number 2060712, and that's the Wynwood Road and Woodvale Lane COC request?
I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance.
By Commissioner Bearden, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, that's one. Now, the second item, since I didn't call, is a request for certificate of compliance concerning DEP file number 2060713. Project location is 381 to 705 Pawtucket Boulevard. The city engineer, DeMayo, has outlined the work that has been completed, and there is a request for certificate of compliance. Do I have any further discussion or questions from the commission? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to issue the certificate.
By Commissioner Varnum, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Beardron. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on, request for certificate of compliance concerning DB file number 2060714. Project location is 1 to 42 Davidson Street. Again, the city engineer has testified as to the request for certificate of compliance. Any further questions of the city engineer from the commission? Do I have a motion?
I'll offer a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for the project.
By Commissioner Lovely, seconded by Commissioner Varnum. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Oh, aye.
The ayes have it. Lastly, certificate of compliance concerning DP file number 2060715. Project location was 41 to 776 Lakeview Avenue. Again, testimony by city engineer DeMayo indicates that the work was done in substantial compliance of the order of conditions that had issued on this site, as were the 3 previous ones. Any further questions from the commission?
Nope.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance.
By Commissioner Beardron, seconded by Commissioner Varnum. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda is request for determination of applicability, Woodward and Curran, concerning project location at Dunbar Avenue, Varnum Avenue, and Pawtucket Boulevard. It's upgrade utilities, including replacement of water main, installation of gate valve and box, and construction of a trench on existing paved streets.
Good evening. I'm Todd Prokop here with Woodard and Curran on behalf of the Lowell Regional Water Utility. Also, Bridget Mitchell is here with me from Woodard and Curran, who you've already had the pleasure of meeting tonight, I think. I am here to request a determination of applicability for some water main work that we're looking to do over on Pawtucket Boulevard, Dunbar Avenue, and Varnum Avenue. The water main work, there's a couple different impacts that have us before you. There's a very small amount of work that is going to take place inside the flood zone that can be seen on the far left of sheet C101. There's an installation of a solid sleeve and valve box right there. That work needs to be done right there to facilitate the work that's being done further down Pawtucket Boulevard at where the stations pick up at Station 0. Unfortunately, we would have loved to move it a little bit east of there and not have to worry about this. But because of the pressure in the water main, we have to have that far enough away from the work that we're doing that we don't have to worry about any sort of thrust problems. And so that's why that's there. Additionally, going forward, looking at sheet C103, you can see that we're looking to do to replace the existing water main in Dunbar Avenue with an 8-inch and 8-inch and 30-inch water main. That's all within the paved surfaces. There will be, no impacts after the project. We plan on restoring everything to the pre-project conditions. The impact there, we are within the riverfront of the Clay Pit Brook there. And we've got one more location over on Varnum Avenue. This location you can see on sheet C106. Again, we're replacing water main over an existing culvert. It's all within the paved surfaces and will remain within the paved surfaces. And we're within riverfront there of the brook that we're going over.
Okay, now, I'm assuming that you're going to be trenching down through the paved surface?
That's right.
Okay, how big is the water main?
There's a couple of different ones. On the one within the flood zone is a 36-inch water main there on C101. On C103, there's you can see there's an 8-inch and a 30-inch that'll be right next to each other in the same trench. And then on C106 on Varnum Avenue, it's just a 16-inch.
So is there temporary, hoses or whatever that are put in place while you're replacing the mains themselves? Or
Yes, so there will be temporary bypass piping laid on the curb lines for the duration of the project. It's typically either steel or HDPE piping put together with Victaulic couplings, and then there are hoses run from that to each house along the route.
Okay, and that runs on the road surface or itself or on the sidewalk area or something like that?
It does, yeah. It'll be depressed only at road crossings so that cars can drive over it. That won't be present at all on Pawtucket Boulevard. Either the work we're doing on Pawtucket Boulevard doesn't require it, so it'll just be on Dunbar and Varnum.
All right, now is this like the previous project, is this a trench in place same day, backfill?
It sure is, yes, and we're requiring the contractor to pave at the end of each day, so we shouldn't have any problems with the trench maintenance overnight.
Okay, are you not anticipating removing of materials after you backhoe it out?
No, sir, they're going to go right along with the trench box. They'll stack it next to the trench as they go, install a water main in the trench box, and then they backfill as they go, and they drag the box right along.
How long do you anticipate the 3 sites to go on for? I'm assuming you're not going to do them all at the same time.
That's right, and there will be a little bit of delay in between them. We expect that the contractor will probably run one crew and kind of go linearly along the project. The project, we're hoping to award it in April of this year. Construction would probably start in May and would certainly be wrapped up before fall. The construction of all of it, the larger diameter water main can be a little bit slow to deal with, and depending on how much experience the contractor has with the larger diameter water main, it can kind of change how fast they go. But I would expect, 3 or 4 months would probably be a typical project time for this. Certainly, we wouldn't be in these, near the wetlands for that whole thing. That's kind of beginning to end of the project.
All right, now specifically the one that goes over the Clay Pit Brook on Dunbar.
Yep.
I'm assuming that you know, that's going to be exposed at some point? I mean, is it exposed now underneath the culvert, or how is it situate now?
We believe right now that the water main runs over the culvert so the culverts are buried and they're like 8 feet or so below the roadway surface. And so we believe that the water main is just run in that area above the culverts, and that's where we plan to install ours.
All right, so it's protected from freezing, and not that that's
Right.
our issue, but I'm just kind of curious as to, what sort of infrastructure is in place now that runs over that culvert over the brook.
Yeah, it's hard to tell you exactly what's there. If you ask us after we dig it up, I'll give you a much better idea.
All right, well, you're
but
not anticipating changing, there won't be any impacts to the culvert?
No, I don't think so. If it ends up being, if we end up needing to go more shallow, we'll require the contractor to use a pre-insulated pipe, which has a slightly larger outer diameter that is filled with like a closed-cell foam, so that'll protect the water main if it has to go shallower because of the existing culvert there. But it wouldn't change. It won't impact the culvert, and it won't impact the roadway surface either. And that would all just be buried.
All right, I have no further questions, Commissioner Barnum. Commissioner Lovely? Commissioner Beardron?
I'm just curious, why are you replacing the water main?
Excuse me?
Why does the water main need to be replaced?
So this is sort of part of a larger multi-phase effort to increase the size of the water mains near the plant. If you kind of think about the city of Lowell, the water treatment plant is up like in that northwest corner, pretty far away from a lot of the population centers.
Yeah.
And there have been some concerns about the size and the redundancy of the mains available to the water department right now if there were, during high flows in the summer, and if there were an emergency repair that they had to do on some of their existing infrastructure. And so this is kind of, one step in a multi-phase process where we're establishing a redundant main that'll feed from the water treatment plant and pick up some of the river crossings. There's a river crossing about a quarter-mile east of the UMass Lowell boathouse, if you know where that is. So there's a river crossing there that this will get us kind of more water there, and that serves the south side of the city over the area that's kind of fed by the Rourke Bridge. And then the connection to Varnum Ave gets us closer to the University Ave Bridge, which also has another connection from the north to the south side of the city. So it's all kind of this larger effort to ensure that even if they have to do some repair work, the utility can provide water to the south side of Lowell and get it across the river.
So Woodard and Curran, you guys actually came to us, you guys were thinking about putting a camera through another crossing?
Yes.
Is this in lieu of, are you not using that pipe now and you're doing this?
No, so that crossing actually serves a different function.
Okay.
That construction is ongoing. It was mostly completed in the fall. There's some cleanup work that's going to have to happen there in the spring. All of this work is on the city's low service water system. So it's the water that comes out of the plant directly and kind of feeds all of the city except for some higher areas, which are Belvedere and the hill around the Christian Hill tank there.
Okay.
And the water main that is now installed and up and running under the river by the Huntsfall Bridge
Yeah.
connects that Belvedere area with the Christian Hill area, so that if either of those pump stations fails, the other pump station can pick up the slack and maintain potable water for whichever side has that pump station down. So these are kind of on almost two separate water systems.
Okay. Some of the sizes, I couldn't see, like the existing sizes.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Are you upgrading, you're upgrading them?
Yeah, Dunbar Ave is 8 right now, and that's going to 30, so that's certainly the most drastic. Varnum is also 8, and that's going to 16.
So Dunbar, it looks like you have 2 new lines. Is there a new 8-inch and a new 30?
Yeah, so what we're showing here is kind of our worst-case scenario, and that's what we wanted to present. That uses an 8-inch to provide water to the residences on the street, and then the 30-inch is kind of a transmission main that goes down. It looks like, because of funding considerations, it looks like, in fact, the 8-inch won't actually be there, and it'll just be a single main done down Dunbar. But again, we wanted to kind of show the worst-case scenario, so that's what you're seeing here.
Okay. I'm like sewer girl, I'm not a water girl. The Clay Creek Brook right there on Dunbar, should
Yep.
there be erosion control there?
Yeah, it may not be shown here, but the contractor will have to, there aren't berms there, so the contractor will have to install hay bales or straw wattles, I know is the preference. So the contractor will install straw wattles there where they're inside the 25-foot riverfront, certainly.
Okay,
And they're going to install silt sacks in all catch basins along the whole project, too, so that'll be protected.
that's good. I have no further questions.
All right, no further questions from the commission? All right, is there anyone who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this RDA? All right, hearing none. Seems to me we can issue a -3 fairly
make-
easily on this, so.
I'll make a motion to issue a -3, just with one thing, that the erosion control is added.
Absolutely.
On Dunbar there. Yep.
Thanks very much.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Lovely, motion by Commissioner Beardron. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the last item on the agenda is request for determination of applicability. Bayside Engineering, Inc. Project location is the VFW Highway, Bridge Street and Lakeview Avenue, roadway, sidewalk, traffic signal reconstruction in addition to milling and paving. If you could identify yourself for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Robert Bennett from Mass DOT, and I have with me my consultant that's been working on me with the project, Brian Sullivan from Bayside Engineering. As you know, the RDA was filed for this safety improvement project involving signal and intersection upgrades along VFW Highway. We're hoping to receive a negative determination for the scope of work involved in the project. This work will be taking place adjacent to the Merrimack River. However, it will not be impacting the bank or any region within the 25-foot riverfront area. There will only be some work within the 100-foot buffer zone to the bank itself. BVW does not appear to be in the area where the scope of work is going to be occurring. Right now, the project is set to advertise in July. And now I'd like to turn this discussion over to Brian so he can give you a little bit more detail about the work and also address the items that were emailed to him.
Good evening. As Robert said, my name is Brian Sullivan. I'm with Bayside Engineering. And we filed this RDA for the VFW Highway, Bridge Street intersection upgrade and improvement, and safety improvement project. The intersection is on the high crash list, and this project was initiated many years ago. It's actually been on hold for a little while, and then it was reactivated.
Do you want to use the tripod that's behind it there? And
Sure.
Sure, and elevate that so. Thank you.
The limits of the project actually extend beyond the page that I have there. That's the main intersection, as many of you are aware of. Basically, the project will include a reconfiguration of Lakeview Ave as well as VFW Highway and Bridge Street in the intersection. It will also include all new traffic signals, new sidewalks, ADA upgrades, and all the pavement will be redone also. There's some full depth reconstruction as well as milling and paving in the job. So it's got some of each of those. The project does not propose to affect the existing levee that's there. It's my understanding that the city is attempting to get the levee recertified. The levee was decertified some years ago, and that's why a portion of the project is within the bordering land subject to flooding. There's also a subsequent design that Mass DOT is doing in-house for the upgrade of the drainage system and the CSO separation. We received the plans from Mass DOT last week. I haven't had a chance to look at them too well. I do have them plotted if you would like to look at those. It just basically reconfigures the existing drainage system to support this project. At a later date, they're going to continue with the CSO separation plans. They haven't got to that yet, from what I understand and from what I'm told. I have brought, to address the issues that were outlined, or rather the items that were outlined on the comments that we received. There was a comment about the land subject to flooding. I have a cross-section of the low point. The low point at this location is approximately the intersection with Lakeview Ave, where the turn is, not where it comes up to the Bridge Street and VFW Highway. I'll point to it. And I have the profile that I can show you that, for the most part in this area, as you know, it's pretty densely developed. So we have to meet existing pretty much right at the back of sidewalk, because that's where the houses are and the businesses are. So the profile on the cross-section changes very little through here. It's mostly a reconfiguration of the islands, as you can see, the bold, and reconfiguration of the lanes and some minor widening, as well as the ADA upgrades. So I'll switch over to the profile on the cross-section. This cross-section, I don't think you had it as part of your submittal. You just had the 3 plan sheets. This cross-section is approximately at the location of the Lakeview intersection, and it's hard to see from this distance, but there's a balance of cutting and filling, and it's very, very minor in this area. And then the profiles on the next page. This is the low point here, and this is approximately the intersection with Lakeview Ave. This dashed line is actually the existing roadway, the existing pavement where it is now. The proposed is slightly above, but this is only showing it one slice through the roadway. If you look at the cross-section, you can see that it's balanced. And I'll switch over to the drainage plans by Mass DOT. Basically, it's just a reconfiguring of the existing system, or to tie into the existing system, and then at a later date, they'll be doing the CSO separation. At this point, I can ask any questions.
Yeah, either on the river side of the area here, there's a sidewalk that runs along there, and that's sort of the inland part of that levee. Is there any change in elevations to that particular area?
So on the river side of the actual levee, is that what you're asking?
Not on the river side. It's actually along the sidewalk, adjacent to the roadway, adjacent to the VFW highway. That's sort of the end of the. That's sort of the inland end of the levee, so to speak.
There is the path. Are you talking about the path?
No. There's the sidewalk that runs right along the road. There's a 4-foot sidewalk, and then there's a very small grassy area, and then there's a fence, chain link fence, and then it goes down the bank to the Riverwalk.
Yes.
Are you proposing any regrades along the sidewalk that runs adjacent to the VFW itself?
There is not. There's slight grading that ties in at the back of sidewalk, but actually, there's actually a area We do have to, towards the intersection with Lakeview, the sidewalk does actually approach closer to the levee in that location.
Okay, because it's just that, I mean, that does function as a levee. I mean, during the Mother's Day flood a couple years ago, the water was, if you were driving along the VFW in that particular area, the water level in the Merrimack was higher than the road surface.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the levee was, it was a kind of an interesting thing to see.
I did read the report a little while ago. My understanding is that there's issues with integrity further down, I think is what I read.
All right.
I can't remember how old the report was.
What exactly are the changes that you're making to that Bridge Street, VFW, Lakeview, or interchange? What are the, you know, and what are the changes as far as, you know, signaling goes and you know, islands and access points and stuff like that?
The intersection with Lakeview, right now comes in at an angle to the
Right.
intersection. That's going to be discontinued. It's actually going to be turned into this park. And actually, the VFW.
Well, it doesn't come in, it actually goes outbound at an angle. The inbound is one way.
Oh, okay, okay.
I think it is, maybe I'm wrong, but,
I attended Lowell. They were redoing this intersection back in '87. So
Yeah.
actually, this whole area, and so I don't know if it's been done between now and then, but that's my memory of it anyway. So basically, what's going to happen is this section of roadway is going to be discontinued essentially, and the traffic is going to come to a T intersection here.
So I mean, they're gonna get rid of that traffic light, there's like two traffic lights. There's one at the intersection of Bridge Street and VFW Highway, and then just behind that towards the CVS is another one. I think it's to accommodate the
The
traffic.
end of Lakeview Ave, yeah.
So is the intent there to remove that traffic light and have more of a continuous flow? Because basically what you have now is, it's almost like a dead light or a dead space between the two lights. You make it to the light accommodating Lakeview, hit a red light, stop, and then you go and you hit the next one right at Bridge Street.
That's correct. That light is going to be removed, and they'll be consolidated with the lights here. It'll be one light for that connection.
Wait, but there'll still be a light at the end of Lakeview Ave, correct?
Absolutely.
So that light will still be there?
And the light here is going to be coordinated with the whole intersection, obviously.
I got you.
And actually, your plan shows the arrows. If you see the arrowheads, those are the light heads on the plan that you have in your packet.
Where's the CSO outfall out there?
You mean the proposed?
Well, it sounded like right now, there's an existing, it's right now combined sewer overflow, so there's no separate sanitation and sewer, so stormwater right now ties into this sanitary line, correct?
They're proposing to tie into the existing.
Well, no, I mean, what my guess is what they're gonna propose to do is separate, I mean, that's the requirement, is to separate stormwater and sanitation, but in the meantime, it sounds like that's a project in the future. Where I'm going with this is, while we're waiting for that to happen, the reconfiguration, is it gonna be adding any additional stormwater flow into the existing stormwater structures that tie into that existing system?
We are not. There's no change in, and there's no net change in impervious area here.
Well, Lisa,
In fact, I believe we are actually reducing it because we're removing the Lakeview Ave roadway pavement, and it's becoming a park, so that'll actually be pervious now.
So no more, but I'm thinking about sheet flow off of the existing road structures into the storm drains.
Well, I mean, once it's on the pavement, it goes pretty quick,
Yeah,
so it's the net impervious area will be reduced as part of this project, overall.
wait, do we know if this area even is combined?
Excuse me?
It is combined, Lisa? Okay. Because there is drain and sewer, but it's combined.
They go in the same place.
The same place? Okay. This is kind of out of our jurisdiction, but what's the monument going to be?
Where's the
Well,
monument?
I know where it's going to be, but what is it going to be? Or is there already a monument there?
It's going to be the relocated VFW monument. I believe it's right on the island now.
Oh, that monument out there. Okay, gotcha.
It's going to be relocated to that
Over
position.
there. CVS must be happy.
Yeah.
Is there going to be, is there going to, towards the intersection with Bridge Street on the riverside, is there going to be any widening of the road surface?
On this side,
Yes.
right in this area here, there is a bit of widening here. And that was required to accommodate bicycle accommodations in this location. In fact, we had to change the design specifically for that reason. We had asked for a design exception, and it was rejected, so we had to redesign to add a little more, a little bit of lane shifting and a little bit of extra space for the bicycles to use the intersections.
But it's pretty much going to remain two lanes inbound and outbound?
With the exception of turn lanes. I don't have the line striping here.
But they're going to add a
May
third,
have it on your.
they're going to add a third turn lane?
I believe here there's going to be a turn lane. Here there's going to be a turn lane, and then it'll be two through.
Okay. You had indicated that your cuts and fills had basically balanced out,
Yes,
and that's at same elevations? Because I didn't see any calculations in your
that's correct.
submittal.
I can give them to you if you need them.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Thank you. I mean, obviously you had indicated you had attended Lowell way back in the day, so.
I did, when
Yeah.
it was Lowell, yes.
You know what kind of a nightmare this intersection is.
Ah,
Yeah, it's.
It's a nightmare.
And
then it was Indy
that's
500
not our
beyond it.
jurisdiction, but anyone who lives in this city is,
It was always a nightmare.
yeah.
During school hours,
Yeah.
most hours.
I mean, it's during any hours, this is, it's a nightmare.
In fact, I avoided it on the way here.
All right. I don't have any further questions, Commissioner Varnum.
No, I think not.
Commissioner Lovely, Commissioner Beardron.
Nope.
All right, is there anyone here who'd like to offer their comments or concerns, limiting your comments or concerns to the wetland jurisdictional issues? Is there anyone here who'd like to offer their comments or concerns? Comments or concerns, hearing none, do I have a?
I'll make a motion to issue a -3
Yeah.
determination.
Second that.
That's it. Any further discussion? Motion by Commissioner Beardron, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Yeah, if you could get your cuts and fills to Swati.
I will.
Okay.
Look to start again, hopefully, when we look to start this project.
The ad date is set for early July if the contractor on board part goes smooth. I would imagine they would probably at least start some preliminary work in the fall.
And how long do you anticipate the project taking? Because I just need to know how long I should take a vacation for.
That I'm not sure, but I can get back to you tomorrow with that info.
All right. All right, good night.
Thanks. As an aside, I serve on the Reading Conservation Commission, and with this agenda, we'd be here past midnight. So maybe you can come and give us some tips. It was very good, very efficient.
All right, we have nothing else on the agenda, no minutes, no other business. It was just one item, if you noticed in the paper, the Warren Street recycle bins that were placed over off Warren Street along the bank of the Concord River. There's a utility substation down there that the city uses, and the city has, they either own the property or have access to the property. It's between the Locks and Canals garage and that project, but there was an article in the paper, I believe it was Sunday, wasn't it? Yeah, and I had contacted the office and asked them to move the recycle bins. They were within the floodway of the Concord and right on the bank. It's just not an inappropriate place for recycling materials to be either unloaded or offloaded. There is a fence there, but the fence is mostly broken and down, so. So what I understand is they've moved them against the Warren Street retaining wall, which is probably about 100 yards away now, so it's a fairly good distance now from the Concord, so. All right, so other than that, I don't think there's anything else. So just extend my thanks to Joe for getting on that quickly. All right. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded
Second.
by Commissioner Beardron, motion by Commissioner Varnum. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the ayes have it, and good night.